How's it going, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draft to the Future, where we are indeed data-driven, film confirmed. I am Matt, and Ryan is doing social media things, which is why I always talk in the beginning. Today is super exciting. Not going to lie, we're going to burn through tight ends because neither of us are impressed, but then we're going to really enjoy our conversation about our top 100. If you believe my top 100 is completely insane, I'm not even going to argue with you. I'm just a dude making decisions based on what I see. But if you want to crash out over someone's rankings, stay tuned because you will have all the ability you want. That's kind of what we're doing. So Ryan, what else we got?
Yeah, not much. I've got some new equipment, if you can see, so I'm probably sounding crystal clear now, which is exciting. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. Tight ends is one of my favorite positions to pay attention to, and it's an interesting class this year. I feel like it's similar to the running back class, where it's like a pick your flavor. While I think we talked about it, there's a ton of tight end twos in this class. There's just lots of guys that'll probably be a role player, but maybe not maybe not a star. So I will go ahead and start with my number one overall, because Matt's number one overall is what everyone's number one overall is. But I have Max Clare a little higher. Now, I'm not gonna lie, my formula didn't have him as my number one. This is more of a film-based thing for me, and what I think I'm basing it a little bit off of what his 2024 was too. But he's a really, really good route runner. He's an explosive blocker in the run game. A little raw there still, but he can definitely have a role there. And he just has a natural ability to find the holes in the defense and make plays. He's the type of guy that I think is going to go to the next level and become a star. So I'm a big fan of Max Clare and think he's going to be an even better pro than he was a college player.
I agree, and the theme of the night is going to be a healthy discussion on what anyone values, whether you're a GM, a scout, a hobbyist like we are. If you value traits, Sadiq is on your board. If you value production, you're going to have Claire a little bit above Sadiq. I have a higher production score for Max Clare than I do Kenyon Sadiq, but the tools and traits that God gifted Sadiq with are better. And this year I've started experimenting in that area. And even as much as Ryan and I have been and will continue to discuss it, I am currently literally trying to wrap my head around how much do traits matter. And we're doing research to come to, we're digging into that question because neither Ryan nor myself want to live in a world where, oh, he run fast, have big hands, must be good. But the NFL sure works that way. Like that, I know to be true. So that's kind of like where Kenyon Sadiq shines. Now, look, he had some nice catches. I took a little minute to get things figured out. But if you look on the field and you see Kenyon Sadiq running around and doing what he does, I know what you're looking at. This ranking I have for Sadiq and a lot of my rankings is me trying to reconcile kind of where guys may fall and what things I might want to pay attention to, because there are athletic requirements you have to have, but neither Claire or Sadiq are like, Claire doesn't have a disaster in his athleticism. He's just not athletically gifted as Sadiq. But a better question is, which one of those two is going to put it together with that spatial awareness, with that understanding? At some point in time, I'm going to look, because there was a video that dropped from a person I really love watching, and I'd recommend anyone to watch that if they're thinking about scouting, because when you think about speed, there is a big difference between Olympian speed and football speed. They are different planets. And so all that's going to kind of come together. But Sadiq Definitely looks better in gym shorts.
Yeah, to me, Sadiq, I put Family Dollar fan in, uh, because all the things people trashed Fannin for last year, um, are things that they're ignoring for Sadiq, and to my in my opinion, um, Sadiq's athleticism is not that much better, um, on the actual field than it was. So that's where I'm just lower. And he's got bad hands, like lacks concentration and like swats at the ball and uh, doesn't really make good uh, clean catches. So we'll see. I don't think he'll be a bad player. I just am not touching him anywhere in the first round.
Well, just to for anyone watching, um, the discussion we have over whether or not he's one or two is very different because I still have a second round grade on Kenyon Sadiq.
Yep.
Like, I acknowledge his traits, but everything Ryan said about how he attacks the ball in not a good way. Like, it looks like he's fighting it every time he catches the ball. I think he's trying to pluck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and credit to him for that, but it's not working for him.
Yeah, and you'll see my top 4 tight ends. There's like a 20 pick range or 20 spot range that I have all 4 of them in. But it's you know day 2, it's not day 1.
Yep.
But you want to talk about Eli Stowers?
So Eli Stowers is a guy I've loved from jump. Uh, if someone were to tell me he's tight end 2 or even tight end 1, I think there's an argument. He was my preseason number 2 coming into the year. That's how much I loved him. Um, so when looking at what he's able to accomplish, he has his run blocking could be better, and his contested catches could be better, which is why I have him 3 as of this point. But you're talking about 6.1 yards after catch per reception. You're talking about a guy who's just so smooth in finding out where he's going to be. When I watch him, I kind of feel like I'm watching old school. Like, honestly, he kind of reminds me of Brent Jones. Like, he doesn't look impressive in how he looks, but it just looks kind of cheat code easy from my perspective. And I watched several Vanderbilt games. I don't pretend to watch as much film as I should. His knock, he's really light. He's really underweight. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember where Fannin fell, but the dude would be like one of the skinniest move tight ends in the league.
I
But
think
that's
Fannin
his
had almost 10 pounds on him, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken.
So that guy needs a hamburger and a weight room stat. And I cannot pretend that's not true.
Yeah, for me, I really like him, but it's one of those pick your flavor. He spent 75% of his snaps out wide or in the slot. So like he's not your inline guy. Like that's just not his role, and that's fine.
Yep.
Because he can be a weapon still. So Eli Raridan is the next guy that we haven't talked about, and that's my number 4. Matt's got him a little lower, but um, he's one of those guys. He's a very versatile tight end. He's got great hands. He's an adequate but somewhat a raw blocker. And I'll talk a little bit about why I think he's a more raw player. But I think he's a really good vertical threat. He gets down the seam really well. Honestly, he could be I think he may have been my tight end 1 if it weren't for 2 ACL tears. And that's the big issue with him is that he's more of a raw player because he's been off the field because of injury, and it's one of those guys that um, if he can stay healthy, he might end up being the best tight end from this class, and I wouldn't be surprised by that. But yeah, you can't overlook the amount of injuries he's had, and that's what makes him a little lower. But
So a thing I want to point out with him is he had 49 targets, only 6 of them were contested.
yeah,
That dude separates.
yep.
So what do we got next? Oh, my boy, I've been following
Your
Tanner
boy.
all year.
I made sure to let you talk to him.
So when I did my formulas and I thought about where I'm going to place them, I wanted to be ashamed because I put Tanner Kozoil number 4 on my board, and I'm like, oh, dude, my bias is showing. But you got to understand something. You're talking about a guy who now he had 83 targets and 23 of them were contested, but he is a 75-25 guy. If you throw the ball, and it's because he's huge, he's enormous. I can't
Yeah.
say his height anymore because someone will do this, but the guy is enormous. Uh, um, and I even remember my original scouting video, and I'm like, guys, run blocking is really not great. And I'm like, what are you doing having him run block? Like, why would you do that? Like, like why would you have Kenyon Sadiq run block? That's crazy. But you have to, and like everything he did this year just confirmed what I saw coming into the season. You're talking about a guy who is truly athletically special. This guy is pretty darn quick for a person of his size, and I don't mean like, oh, for someone that tall he's fast. I mean, no, he is competitive long speed against anyone. And dude, line him up. He's a first down touchdown waiting to happen. In that 3rd and 7, just chuck it. He's going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to come down with it. And he can find that spatial awareness. And when I watched, I remember wondering about his long speed. And then I saw his 40 time. I'm like, well, no, he looks slow because imagine Sasquatch running a 4.840. It's just not like supposed to happen. So I wanted to feel like, well, I just like him. No, dude, I legitimately think he is, he's in this conversation, but he is indeed a very niche type of tight end. He's a chain mover, like reception safety blanket guy. I'd be over the moon if the Niners drafted him.
Yeah, my view on him is at at worst, you have an absolutely dominant red zone threat at worst, and that's huge because he catches everything that is thrown at him. His yeah, he has a lot of contested catches, um, but he makes those contested catches, and I think that you talked about his long speed is good. I think the reason he struggles getting the agility is because of his, or I mean the separation is because of his like lateral agility. That's not the strongest part of his game, but I mean he's one of those guys that I don't know. He's got like a fishing net up there when he goes to catch it because it's coming down every time he gets his hands on it. So absolutely love him. You and I have been high on him for quite a while, and you're even you more so than me. But you know, very very awesome player. I'm gonna go ahead and jump to my number 6, and then you can come back to your number 5.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted Jolly.
No, it's okay because we'll we'll get some other ones later. So,
Okay.
so Oscar Delp. Oscar Delp is one of those guys that he is again. I think he is similar to what I said about Max Clare. That I think he's going to be better in the league than he was in college, and I think part of that is because QB play. Uh, Gunnar Stockton is not my cup of tea when it comes to the quarterback, and I don't think that he did much to help his receivers. Um, and if you watch Oscar Delp's film, he is literally out in the open waving half the time. And Gunnar Stockton just didn't see him or didn't hit him. And so that's one of those things that I think you have to look at when you're evaluating him. But he's a pretty solid blocker. He runs pretty good routes. I really like him down the seam. He can be that like killer with that hitting routes down the seam and the vertical game there. But he's also got really good yak threat. I would like to see him be a little more physical in his play to maybe get some more broken tackles and block better out in space. But overall, I think he's a really solid player, and I would not be surprised to see him be much more effective in the league than he was in college, just because he's going to have hopefully a better player or a better quarterback throwing to him.
He's another guy who I would not hate the Niners getting in round 5. He's a much better blocker. And I am fully in agreement. I think that quarterback in Georgia made a lot of first round guys look like fifth round guys.
Yeah.
What? Me Jolly? Okay.
Yeah.
So Justin Jolly, I'm not gonna lie, I have a love-hate relationship with him. I watched 3 NC State games, and I don't remember a whole lot except for I'll watch one game and I'm like, dude, he might be TE1, and then I watch another game and I'm like, who is he again? I don't have any athletic data for him. Um, his 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 claim to fame is getting open. But I am of the opinion that that's like all he can do. And I know I just complimented Tanner for that, but he doesn't have that same build and bulk to be a guaranteed chain mover. So yes, he can get open. Yes, he can find space, but there's a lot, even just looking at production, that kind of screams. And if you watch more tape, then by all means, let me know. But there are a lot of indications. Only 3.5 yards after catch per reception. That is historically tiny.
Mm-hmm.
That is not good. A 50% contested catch rate, and that's with only 12 contested catch targets. 50% with like 20, like 30, then now we're talking. But if you only had 12 ops, you should have more than 6 actual contested receptions. So if he can get open, he can kind of make the catch. He's sure-handed. I can see that much. But he's not a breakaway threat. He's not I don't know that he really finds space well, my opinion. And I'd love someone, if you want to defend him, you can. But I think I'm giving him credit for how he is able to get open so consistently. But he's not going to give you much juice with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, he came in. He was listed at 263, and he came in somewhere in like the 240 something range, and so that I was like, that changed my view on him a little bit initially, and like you mentioned, just wildly inconsistent on film, and I think that's what pushed him down my board. And then yeah, his athletic stuff at his pro day, he only had a 30-inch vertical. And a 9.5 foot broad. That's not bad.
And I think he's the one who actually blew his hammy when trying that
Yep,
vertical. Like, to be fair, we get
yep,
it. We know, but he wasn't lighting up the pro day before that happened, guys.
yeah. So, but yeah, so yeah, I don't mind him at all. I think so. You guys, you got 3 on your board that we haven't talked about. I've got 2. I've got 3 as well, I guess. So let's talk about Sam Roush, and then we'll get into the guys that are unique to our boards.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, Sam Roush, big body. He has lots of drops and struggles in contested catches. Those are some of the bad things. However, he's a really solid blocker. I think the league is going to love him because he is going to be a really solid all around inline and potentially spread him out wide. But he's probably going to spend more time inline in the league. And he still has good production despite his struggles. And I've been seeing a lot more people lately say that there's no correlation between drops in college and drops in the league. And so I'm trying to get that bias out of my head. I do want to like personally do some research on that myself to verify that. But I think he's going to be a very solid player. I know some people have him as high as tight end too.
So here's my first clickbait moment. Assertion: Sam Roush is a better athlete than Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just flat out believe it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why he is on my board.
Yeah, and again,
Um,
it's not like the team he was on was great either.
yeah.
He didn't necessarily have the greatest quarterback play either. So
And we're talking about a guy who he gets open. He's as good. He's better than average in the run. His so again, here's another example. His contested catch rate is 55.6, but he only has 9 contested catch opportunities and 51 targets. Sam Roush, low key, and credit Steve Minch over at the Ringer for being the first guy on there. I just want to like give him a shout out for that. Not that he needs me giving him a shout out, but um, I wanted to look at him and be like, well, athletic freaks, because I really don't want to admit athleticism is more important than production. But dude, the guy is a better athlete than Kenyon Sadiq. That
hmm
is a measurable thing. He's bigger frame, bigger body. He's a better athlete.
yeah. All right, so I'll talk about my number 8 and in Joe Royer.
And I think he
And
might be
again,
my
this,
number 11.
huh?
He might be my number 11.
Yeah, so Joe Royer, he finds space really well. He's a pretty solid route runner. He does not drop the ball. He's not the greatest blocker, but he's not like a liability in the blocking game. And honestly, if you're watching him, the Bearcats wasted him. If you told me in 3 years he was the tight end one in this class, I wouldn't be surprised. My thing with him is so frustrating because the reason I made him a player that I watched and followed this year is because in 2024 he seemed to be on the rise. He was moving up, and then they like took him out of the offense. They barely threw it to him. Um, he wasn't targeted a ton, and it's not like he wasn't open. He was open quite a bit, and he's a pretty solid athlete as well. I don't know if I got a athletic testing for him. I'm not sure that I do.
Royer,
Yeah.
got you, fam. No, he hasn't done any testing.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I believe he was dealing with some injury stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
But
he has like a personal pro day scheduled though.
does he? Okay.
I think so.
But for me, like he's one of those guys. You watch some of his tape, and he's leaping over guys. He's making these incredible catches. You see everything that you need, and he's got really good size to him as well. So I think he has every bit that you need to be a good tight end in the NFL. It's just Cincinnati wasted him this year.
So I got some love for Joe Royer, and I think that there are a lot of prospects who can make an argument that bad quarterback play did them no favors. I'm
hmm
seeing the traffic, although I don't know why they're blaming Wegman for Casey Concepcion. That Wegman wasn't the quarterback for A&M this year. Twitter, figure that out. But the next guy does not. The next guy had Arch Manning, although it took a minute for Arch to get things going in gear. Jack Andrews also looked great coming off a bus. But I can't lie. Andrews is on my board because he is probably the best balance between run blocking. Like he's a true Y. He's probably got the best balance between run blocking and receiving. The problem is he's slightly above average in both. Like
Yeah.
he is balanced, but he's only above average in both. Brilliant in getting open, 41 targets, only 7 contested. So again, just like with drops and contested catches, not all drops are equal, and that's something I think Ron and I will want to look at when someone did say like, "Hey, look at the data; it doesn't correlate." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if you're just looking at the raw drops, there's a big difference. Like, not every one of those drops, in my opinions, were drops." So and same thing with contested catches. 57% of 7 is way more impressive to me than 50% of 12. So it's kind of in that vein. So Endries and all of these guys we're talking about are lottery tickets where if you get them on day 3, you could really hit. But I don't draft many of these. Like maybe round 2 and 3, I could see 1 through 3 going, and then round 5, that's when I'm turning in these lottery tickets. Because if they hit, I'm a genius, and if I miss, well, it's a fifth round guy.
Yeah. So that gets me into my number 10, which is Carson Ryan, out of BYU. So believe it or not, small, like lesser known guy. I haven't heard a ton of people talk about him. But he's got really good size. I believe 6'4", 250. He's a true inline guy, in my opinion. But he's got some receiving upside. This year, he broke out at BYU. He had a 2.04 yards per route run. He put up, I believe, 600 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. Yeah, 620 yards, 45 receptions, and only 59 targets. So really, really good season. 7.5 yards after contact per reception. So lots of really good stuff from him. And he is, I think, the perfect tight end for what the league wants right now. I love him. I think his blocking, he's one of the better blockers too. Um, I think he is a phenomenal all around player. The sample size isn't great. He had several years beforehand. He was at UCLA for 2 years, and then he was at Utah last year. But he combined for 40 targets over that time. So it's not like he had a ton of reps. But yeah, this year being a focal point in that BYU offense, he became a huge part of their game, and so I really like him a lot.
I'm not gonna lie, like I did not know that was a human who existed. So you got me on that one. You had like last year, Ryan be like, I like this guy. I'm like, who? I like that guy. I'm like, who? This year I did a better job. This year I was kind of in the zone that Ryan's in, but he'll still find a guy I didn't know existed. So just all credit to Ryan. He's got eyes on a person who I didn't even think to look at. I mentioned earlier that tight ends are a lottery ticket, and John Michael Gillenborg is like the lottery ticket of lottery tickets. He is a move tight end.
Mm-hmm.
You could even call him a slow slot receiver, and I could not argue with you. Um, he's smooth. He separates with his body. Anyone who, and again, like, look, the guys who say data driven film confirmed, like, don't just come at me with, well, 33% contested catch rate. He only had 3 contested catch targets. Like, what are we talking about?
He missed a ton of time with injuries this year too, because he was one
Yeah.
of my guys.
So, the guy, like, again, if you have him blocking if you have him run blocking, you are making a poor decision to begin with. That's not why you put him on the field. So in a 2 tight end set, and Ryan and I agree, this is the class of 2 tight ends. In a 2 tight end set, he can chip, but he's the guy you roll out in a play action. And I can't unsee the drop in a Senior Bowl. Oh, I wanted to throw my laptop. I can't unsee that, but if he puts it all together, you're gonna have a very nice tight end too, who's gonna get you some production if he can match the tools and be more consistent. But he's a guy I'm like I definitely sign him if he's a UDFA, but I don't know that I draft him before round 7.
Yeah. Before we look at the consensus and where we differ, one guy I want to shout out, Rohan Jones out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Um, he's one of the weirdest like profiles because he's about the same size as Harold Fannin was, but this year he had 26 yards per catch and a 5.03 yard per route run, which is just like absurd. And his athleticism is pretty solid, but nobody talks about him because he's undersized, and it's really just 1 year. But I think he's a guy that is someone people should at least look at because his tape is just funny because he's just got these big home run balls that he's getting. But yeah, let's go look at the consensus. There is only one guy on the consensus that neither one of us have. we're not too honestly, like if we look at this, 70%. So 7 of our 10 players are on all 3 boards. Means we're pretty consistent.
Hmm.
Um, the guy that is not on our boards, Michael Trigg. What are your thoughts on Michael Trigg?
So I'm ready to admit that athleticism matters, but he's not that like athletic. His 10-yard split isn't good. My problem with Trigg is when he's on, it's special,
Mm-hmm.
but it's what just such wildly inconsistent. And I think the inconsistency aligned with his burst. I I would not. Are we talking UDFA? Like give him a shot? Sure,
Yeah,
okay,
day
but
3, you know.
I don't draft this guy because I think there's like one game where he just like we talked about a running back the other day who had like the 2 greatest first games ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the game where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch this Trig guy. And then the next week I watched and like, why am I watching this? So I he's not that athletically gifted, and that production is just not enough for me.
Yeah, and I've read some reports that suggest it's a lot to do with like work ethic, um, and so that's concerning for me too. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's necessarily undraftable. If a team took him on day 3, I wouldn't be surprised, and he honestly might go higher than that. Um, but me personally, I'm not touching him to the back end of day 3 at best. Um, and he's someone that I thought pretty highly of going into the year, and just kind of like let me down.
Where did I put? Did I put him? I got him at 228,
Yeah. So that's
but
back end of day 3, you know?
yeah, honestly, for me, that's a UDFA. That's UDFA territory,
Yeah.
based on how I arrange people.
So, all right. Well, the fun part is about to begin. you know, so Matt gets to lead off here and talk about his top 100, and I'll give some thoughts on it as well. But Matt, you want to go into your top 100?
So I got my top 100 here, and I stand behind it. Now, before you guys light me up, and you can come at me because I rank them the way I believe in them, but I'm not stupid. For instance, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get Pregnon at number 35, but I'm pretty sure he's actually the best interior lineman in his class. Now there are people who have issues with how old he is and some other stuff. Uh, I gotta, I gotta be honest. Mike Iupati, that's who he reminds me of.
Okay.
And when you're a gap run guy who loves it, I know Shanahan is a zone run guy, but I just love watching a man who truly looks like he hates humanity on a football field. Don't do it in the real world, for the record, but on a football field, get it all out your system. The guy's a monster. He's got all the tools in the world. And his production is off the charts. Everyone's talking about the Oregon run game. They were running behind Pregnon. So do I genuinely believe he is literally the 6th best player in the class? I absolutely believe that. But I'm going to draft him at number 35 and get his steal. So the reconciliation between my board is I believe in the people I believe in. Uh but I'm going to draft them where I know I will get the most value for them. And there are guys here. Another one I want to shout out is Zachariah Branch. I will die on that hill. We just talked about Oscar Delp. That noodle arm up in Georgia couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if it was in front of his face. So what other routes are you going to have him run? The guy can't throw 20 yards anyway. Like what are you going to do? So I believe in Zachariah Branch. So I'm a lot higher on some people. But I think someone was posting like, how many elite grades do you have? I'm like, one, Sonny Styles. I just can't take a linebacker number 3 overall unless David Bailey goes number 2 overall. Then I'm like, well, just draft the elite guy. So these are areas where I'm super, super high on. But I'm just going to come right out. What I got room made at 50?
Looks like
He's
he is at
57.
57.
I do. I love Ruben Bain. I love Ruben Bain. Clip this. I love Ruben Bain. But you're asking Ruben Bain to have Micah Parson numbers with an inch smaller arms, a much slower 40, and a much slower 3-cone. You have unfair expectations on a person who has quite literal physical limitations. And drafting him in round 1 and then being angry that he I believe, and Ryan's probably going to chime in, I believe he has no tape against NFL starters. So, yes, he lit up guys who are going to work at McDonald's next month. But that's what he did. That doesn't mean I don't love him. You're supposed to dominate lesser talent, and he dominated the bejesus out of that talent. I wish he did the pro day. Not the pro day, the Senior Bowl. That would have changed my opinion drastically. But he didn't. And then he didn't test to give me anything to look at. He's short, his hands are small, his arms are short. These are not things first round edge rushers have. Do I think he's a 5 to 8 sack guy? Absolutely, I do. I think he's a pass rushing specialist all day, every day. Those guys live in round 2. They do not live in round 1. So I genuinely would affirm I have fair expectations for someone with sub 32-inch arms, sub 6'3", sub and slightly faster than average at best. I think that I'm being fair to him, and I'm going to be livid if he doesn't perform well as a top 10 pick, and then you're mad at him because you went in with your eyes shut to the reality of the fact that everyone in the NFL is tenacious, everyone in the NFL is big, strong, and fast, and it's a different planet than ACC football. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, and my perspective on it is like I believe he is the unicorn. The you don't have production and tape like that, and you know people wouldn't have guessed that that was an issue because he went against big, tall, long guys, and still was able to dominate. Like I mean, against my Buckeyes, eight pressures, a sack. Against Notre Dame, always good offensive line, 4 pressures, a sack. Against Florida, 7 pressures and a sack. So he had a lot of really good games. In Texas A&M, I know Matt doesn't view the guys at Texas A&M as NFL starters, but I think that they, at a minimum, have at least a shot to start in the NFL. And he had 8 pressures, 3 sacks, 5 QB hurries. So like, I think he's for me. I can't look past the tape with that, and I think that he is a top 10 player. I think if the Bengals take him at 10, I would be ecstatic. So,
and I'm going to remember this. I cannot wait to like near the Super Bowl to be like I was so wrong about Ruben Bain. I'll eat my crow. I'll admit I was wrong or whatever you want to say. I hope that what I'm saying is untrue. I truly, truly do. But I just beg fans of Ruben Bain to understand what you're really asking Ruben Bain to do. Ryan's eyes are open. He's like, no, he has to be a unicorn. And he's not going to, even if he goes to the Bengals and busts out, he's going to remember he was a Bain supporter. He'll learn from it and move if I'm right. But I'm going to be very furious with people who say, oh, what a waste of Ruben Bain at pick number 10 and what of this and what of that. I will lose my mind because I hate hate, strong word. I get very angry at evaluators who in March are like, what a great guy. He's a can't miss prospect. And June of next year, you're like, they were an idiot to take that guy. Those are the guys I pay real close attention to. Best case in point, Jamarcus Russell. Everybody on the planet thought Jamarcus Russell was going to change football. Everybody on the planet thought Jamarcus Russell was a home run number 1 overall pick. and anyone pretending that wasn't true, it's just flat out lying. And to say the Raiders were stupid to take him is a lie because everybody said he was a no-brainer. And that's kind of the same juxtaposition. And so that's where my passion's coming from, because you take him in round 2 and you don't have those unreasonable expectations. You take him top 10 and he doesn't get like, and again, top 10 edge rushers, if you get 5 sacks, Ryan did the data, you get 5 sacks your rookie year, that's awesome. That's really good. We
Yep.
can't all be Alden Smith with 14 in year 1.
Yeah, that's
So
not common.
like having those reasonable expectations is important.
Yeah.
Anyone else you want me to out? Jordan Tyson you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean
So
that's obvious with the injury issues. So I think the interesting thing for me, and maybe you can speak to this too, your thoughts, but for me, the difference between like guys in this range and guys in this range, like
I think you're moving a mouse, but
oh,
I
I
can't see it.
am, my bad. The guys in the 30s and the guys in the hundreds,
Uh-huh.
not a massive gap for me this year.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
also true.
So, I was talking to someone earlier today, and I was like, the difference between my player 40 and player 140 is not much, and player 40 isn't, is probably a round 2, maybe round 3 grade. Um, so I that's my view on this, is that while there's gonna be a lot more variation, I think, this year in the draft, because it's not top heavy and there's a whole lot of guys with question marks.
So I'm looking at my scores. Fernando Mendoza, Sonny Styles, David Bailey, and then a ton of mid.
Mhm.
And by mid I mean maybe solid starters, reliable guys. But if you're not getting one of those, I got to give some love to Mansour Delane as well. If you're not one of those guys, like I you tell me Cassius Howell goes round, I mean 54 is round 2. You tell me Cassius Howell goes at the bottom of round 1, I'm like, okay, but what are your expectations? Because he got short arms too. Like, I believe in Skylar Bell. I have an 80 grade on him, but he's a small school guy. Didn't go up against the best talent, so I knocked him for that on my board. And plus, I'm pretty sure he's going to be there at 75. So the I that's just me trying to agree with Ryan. Once you get outside whatever your top 20 is, I don't know. I like, what do you think, Ryan? If you get the top 20 from everyone are they, how many of the names are in the same list?
Probably like 16 or 17 are going to be pretty similar.
Yeah, because I looked at ours. If you let me ramble for a second,
Mhm.
I did some research in that vein. Um, come on, come on, you can.
While you're looking at that, like, I want to point out some flag plants that you have here, like
Oh yeah,
um, Jake Golday, Brian Parker. Those are guys that I like a ton too, and you've got them in your top 20. You planting that flag there. Um, another one, you've been big on Colton Hood since forever,
oh
but then
yeah,
also Trey Dan Stooks. I know I pointed him out to you at one point, and he has just grown on everybody, and his medicals look like they're coming back good. So that's big there. I love the Kendrick Law flag plant here, because I'm pretty high on him as well. But to see him as high at this high for you is pretty
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Um, and then let's see who else. Other flag plants. I was surprised to see Emmanuel McNeil Warren so low, personally.
Well, again, like I'm looking at a different thing. Where remind me where I'm pretty sure he's a second round guy, right?
You have him at 60.
Yeah, so like I have a round 2 grade on him. And that's because safety's typically going round 2. Remember how livid I was? You took my guy Watts from me.
Hmm.
Like I don't hate him. Safety's just living round 2.
Yeah.
And so that's just something to take aside. But I don't personally think McNeil Warren is as athletically gifted as some people are saying. So that's the I think he's going to be a great safety. I just don't think he's as crazy skilled. I think people are a little enamored. But I mean, he's going to play. He's going to start. He's going to do well. But like good NFL safeties live in round two.
Yeah. And then the other two players I'll point out here before you talk about what you're trying to talk about. Um, 87 and 88 on your board. Cameron Stewart, who we interviewed. He tested great at his pro day. He said he wishes he was better at some things, but he was able to talk to some pro teams. I think he's going to get a shot. And Matt's very high on him. And then a guy that we found because of the data, TJ Burke. Matt pointed him out to me, and from like a score standpoint, from my metrics, is crazy high. But he played at Lehigh, so that's why he gets a little knock from that perspective. But there's just a couple guys that people may not know or haven't heard of.
Yeah. So and again, like Cameron Stewart, and we got to give Maximus some love, and TJ Burke. What I love most about them is they have athletic traits. They exist. They're there, and they have production. But the big knock on all three of them is small school.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to say that about Ruben Bain, I better have an equal reaction to small school, G5 guys or even Division 2 guys. So looking at the record, we have, so between me and Ryan, Bain, McNeil Warren, Jamon McCoy, AJ Halsey, Lee Hunter, Keith Abney, Halton, Claire. These are all the guys in our top. We have a lot of guys in our top 100 who have significant 32 or more. So we're around different. We are around different on, I think I had it like, give me the grand total. Yeah, that's a long list, folks.
And one thing I'll say too is that, like, while you're like, my players that are 33 through 64
Mm-hmm.
aren't all round two grades.
Yeah.
Like for me, I have round two grades on like 20 something through like 40 something. And then I have a round three grade on like 40 something through like 80 something. So like that's just the way that I have more like round three grades than there are picks in round three. But that's just where I would say that's where their value is. So
yeah. So what I will say though is, looking at our boards, our first round guys, there are a few differences. Our second round guys, the further away, because this is a very divergent class, most of our first round guys are first round guys. I think Bain is one of the main examples.
yeah.
But most of our craziest divides are happening after round three.
Yeah, and a
And
lot of times it's because of the athleticism.
yeah. And that's because this year, now we'll dig into this. Ryan and I have been talking about this for a while. What my research has shown me is the NFL has a very clear line of delineation for each position. And if your athletic biometrics or your athletic testing doesn't meet those ranges, they do not, you're not going to get an opportunity. And I cannot claim that means they won't be good. I just know they won't have a chance. And that's That's what Ryan and I are discussing, because um, we both believe you cannot have all production and no traits. You also cannot have all traits and no production. What we're currently working on trying to figure out is what is the proper ratio between the two. And that is a very, very tough thing, especially when Ryan and I both prefer production over traits. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how that all comes together.
Yeah, and
Um,
so we're actually trying to the goal is for us to by this time next year, but well, by the beginning of draft season next year, we are hoping to build a draft to the future formula. We want to have one formula that we agree upon. You know, it's not going to be everything Matt wants, it's not going to be everything I want. It's going to be a formula that we both agree on. And then that formula will be what we use to grade players, and then we'll still rank players accordingly, right? Like, so just because this guy has the highest score, I might value something a little different. So like me and Matt's boards are still going to be different, um, and because our formulas won't take into account really the film grade either or the competition level, so that has to be taken into account when we build our own boards. So
yep, and we're still discussing ideas on how to account for it, especially in a world where a lot of people are just choosing not to test. I'm going to be very interested to see, because I think the no-brainer guys are are presenting, and that's why I want to give so much credit to Sonny Styles. The no-brainer athletic guys, like we talked about Jeremiah Smith as a case study that he and I were talking about. I don't need to see Jeremiah Smith test a lick. That film is so obvious. I don't need to see it. And when we were talking about the case studies, it would be very fair where if someone had come to me and said, "Hey Matt, where would you have Ruben been graded if you had no clue what his arm length was?" And I'd be like, "Well, to be fair, I'd have a top 10 grade on him. I might consider him at number 3 overall." But then when he didn't work, I would be like, "But what happened?" And that would be I would realize that would be the answer. Again, I do hope I'm wrong, but I must admit, if I did not know what his arm length was, I would not care what his 3-cone time and what his 40 time were, and I would not care at all. But where I'm trying to get all this to cooperate is there are guys who don't need to test, because nobody's questioning what they're doing. The only reason Jamal McCoy tested was because he sat out a year. I kind of have beef with that, and if we got a few minutes, I'd like to talk about that. But that testing was him saying, "Look, I'm still fast and good," but the only reason he needed to do a darn thing was we haven't seen him do anything at all. But then other prospects see them skipping drills, and I think some of the more questionable prospects are hiding from tests that, like for me, if I'm going to fall in the draft because I have a bad 3-cone, I want it to be because I actually ran a 3-cone that was bad.
yeah,
Because what a GM's going to do if they have questions, they're going to err on the side of you're bad. Denzel Boston, I heard one evaluator say, "I'm just going to assume he's a 4.8 guy." And I'm like, well, that's an overreaction. I don't know he's a 4.4 guy. I think he might be a 4.6, but I've seen his shuttle. I don't care. Um, but it's an example of, if you are a questionable guy, if you're like Boston is it, if he had run a 40 and he ran a 4.6, he'd probably still be a first round guy.
hmm,
But because he didn't run a 40, people are going to assume he's a 4.8 guy or a 4.7 guy, and he's going to go early to late round 2 and really make it hard for me to pass on him. Because your agent is telling you not to do a thing. But my recommendation, for what it's worth to anyone who may listen to this, is I want to tell you a story about my father. I've only had about 3 conversations with my dad about Vietnam. And I once asked him, why did you choose to run point? When you're running point in Vietnam, you're in the most dangerous position. And my dad looked at me, didn't blink, and said, because if I die, I want it to be because I stepped on a landmine. If you're going to fall into draft, fall because you didn't perform. Don't let some GM or scout think you're slow and then just knock you even if you're slower than average. Because again, what my data shows is wide receiver is a great argument. If you run 4.5, if you run 4.6 or better, you're fine. I don't care if and now look, I have a score and I give you more points if you're faster. But if I look at you and you hit 4.6 on your 40, I'm like, good enough. I don't care after that. And I think Boston could run a 4.59.
Yeah.
And that's the problem I have with it. I don't know. Was that too graphic with the story about my dad?
No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So, all right, let's get into mine now. A little bit different. So my top 100 here, I've got Sonny Styles number one overall. Don't
Not
care about
crazy.
positional value. I just love him as a player. Um, and the, Matt talked about it already. The Ruben Bain difference. I am overlooking some of those uh, red flags in his athletic profile or his biometric profile. I just think the tape is that good. Um, and I've got Mendoza a little bit lower. McNeil Warren, I'm much higher on. I love his tape. I think he's going to be really good. Other than that, let's see, Malachi Lawrence. I think that he has the upside to be one of the best edges in this class.
Not crazy.
Um, we both had Brian Parker right around the same spot. We both love him there. Let's see, other guys that I have here. Um, Grayson Halton. Yeah, I'm pretty high on him. I think this is probably getting closer to what the consensus is actually getting to now. Definitely was not that originally. One of the guys that I am super low on, obviously, is yeah, I've got Kenyon Sadiq right here, right, pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's the other guy I wanted to talk about.
You
Where's he
can't
at?
see your mouse though, Ryan.
Yeah, you're right, Kenyon Sadiq. I got to remember
I
that.
got him at 51.
Yep. The other guy I want to talk about, Matt actually had him in a very similar spot. Cole Payton. Um, Cole Payton is to me my QB2. And we'll obviously talk about QBs a little bit later on in a couple weeks. But Cole Payton has the upside to be the best quarterback in this class. His legs alone are going to give him a long leash in the league because he's going to provide some upside to a team. And while I have him at 36 overall, I'm not telling you to draft him and then pencil him in as your starter next year. That would be absurd. He's got 1 year of starting. He needs to sit behind someone that he can eventually take over for, and be built. He needs that time, and so I hope that he gets that shot. I think he's was it McShay says he's going to go day two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I love him as a player. I love his upside. So that's why I have him right there. And then my next quarterback, I don't think is until um, I don't even know when my next quarterback is. Oh yeah, Cade Klubnik at 57 is where my next quarterback is. So quarterback is a pretty weak class here for me. Let's see some other guys I'm higher on, uh, or maybe lower on. Okay, I'll talk about a guy I'm lower on that Matt was also lower on. We were 7 spots away here. Caleb Banks. Um, Listen, I get that he's an athletic freak to an extent. Um, but his film is inconsistent. His production isn't great. He's got multiple lower body injuries for a guy of his size. That terrifies me. That's those concerns makes me put him in round three. Like that's the same thing. Like if Ruben Bain had significant injury issues, he would not be anywhere close to my top 10. I can't do it. Um, let's see some other guys that I'm pretty high on. Oh, I'll obviously talk about Landon Robinson. We had him on our channel. The league is finally catching up to him.
We've
He's
been
moving
screaming.
up in the consensus. We've been screaming for months. Um, I have him as high as 76. If you told me the Bengals took him at 70, at pick 72, I would not be upset. I think he's probably going round 4, is what I feel. I feel like that's where he's probably going to fall, and I'm hoping it's pick 110 to the Bengals. They have a top 30 visit coming up with them here soon, so um, I just love to see it. A couple other guys that I'm really high on compared to consensus: Cyrus Allen, wide receiver out of Cincinnati. I think he's one of the best route runners in the league, and I think he's going to be a nasty slot at the next level. And then also Jaden Kennedy. Jaden Kennedy is honestly he's similar to Stukes in terms of I see him as just an absolutely dominant nickel or slot corner at the next level. Um, I think the consensus has him closer to the 200 range, if I'm not mistaken. I know PFF has him like above 200. You know, give him to me in on day 2, round 3, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty sure you've got a starting nickel right away. Um,
So, um,
yeah, go ahead.
can you give some love? Can you give some love to Elarm's Orr? Because I'm kind of glad you're on that train now.
Yeah, where do I have him? Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, so Caleb Elarms Orr out of TCU. Um, I got to watch him a good amount because I was watching film for Eric McAllister this year, and a lot of times I'd get lost in it and just end up watching the players on defense too. And Caleb Elam's Orr flashed like crazy on the screen. He was all over the field, um, tons of playmaking ability. The guy doesn't miss tackles, single digit tackle miss tackle rate. Um, he's pretty solid in coverage, but he's like a stud in the run game. He had nearly 10 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. So he's that like line of scrimmage linebacker that honestly is a dream for the Bengals because we have a guy that is playing out of position. He can be that. He can be that guy for us. But he had a 9.71 RAS as well, so he's a great athlete. Um, Pretty good size, and I think the more and more I kept looking back at him, Matt had him much higher first, but he's going to be good at the next level.
So, I want to play a little game.
Hmm.
All right. I want and we can't talk about guys we've already really dove in on.
Okay.
You're gonna do your draft, and you're looking at your shadow team draft, and you're saying to yourself, "There's no way I lead this draft." Like last year, it was like we're not leaving this draft without Harold Fannin.
Hmm.
We're not leaving this draft without a running back. This time around, we're like, hey, let's call out our guys. You're gonna do a draft. I don't care what the round is, whether it's round 1 or round 7. And again, we can't talk. We both love Landon. We both love Cam. We both love Maximus. That's cheating. We've already screamed their names. Who are the guys you're like? There's no way my draft ends without this guy. 3.
3 of them.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so this one's okay. I think the first one I'm going to say is D'Angelo Pons. Um, I think D'Angelo Pons, if he was an inch and a half taller, would be a top 10 pick in this draft. He is the most technically sound corner in this entire draft. It's how he makes up for his size deficiencies. And he's just mean. Like he hits so hard. He's an absolute dog on the field. And there's a really strong chance that he's going to be one of my picks in the second round. I believe he'll be there at that point. So, absolutely love D'Angelo Pons. Um, let's see, my second one. Hmm. This is a tough game.
Well, take some time to think about it. Let me give you some time by talking about my first guy.
Okay.
And again, I can't cheat. I've already told you I'm not getting out of this draft without Pregnon, so he doesn't count. But the first guy, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not coming out of this draft. The only competition he would have is Brian Parker. But the guy, I'm like, no, I'm getting him. He's mine. I was high on him. I followed him all year. He was number one on my board last year in terms of interior alignment. There is no planet where I come out of this draft with Jake Slaughter. Without Jake Slaughter. Jake Slaughter is a plug and play starting corner. He reminds me of Jeff Saturday. I don't know if he ever goes to a Pro Bowl, but he's never going to be the reason your team lost a game. He's
Okay.
never going to be the reason your line didn't know what they were supposed to do. I love Jake Slaughter because he is the definition of security blanket. And I might miss out on him because I think I know where I'm going to get him, and I might end up having to reach on him because of my other guy. Do you have a number two now?
I do. I think I'm going to go to the interior offensive line as well. And I'm going to talk about Logan Jones. Um, I have him 90 overall. Um, I don't know where he's going to fall, which stresses me out. um, but when we're looking at shadow teams, interior offensive linemen are highly coveted because they can play three positions. They can play center, they can play right guard, they can play left guard. And I view him very highly. He, from like just a metric standpoint, he had the number two overall grade right behind Emmanuel Pregnon for me. Um, and that's, a good RAS score, great blocking, great in true pass sets, um, great and solid in the run. He's a little undersized, but I'm not too worried about that. And you can just tell he has a really good control and understanding of the game. And so he's a guy that I absolutely love.
So my number two guy is why I'm stressing over my number one guy because I believe in Zachariah Branch, but people are sleeping on Jacoby Lane. People don't know Jacoby Lane. His worst case scenario is Juwan Jennings. That's like the worst he's going to be. I think he could be Mike Evans. I really genuinely do. I don't understand the hate. I tried to watch Makai Lemon film and I love Makai Lemon, but I kept looking at Jacoby Lane and be like, yeah, I'm drafting him. I just couldn't stop. The guy is he bodies out. He's sure-handed. Maybe your complaint is his route running like could be smoother. I would disagree, but I'm like sure. But I think and what happens with evaluators is they think that in order for them to like the guy, they have to say the other guy's bad. And I'm like, why? Why can't Makai Lemon be that much better because he was the best player on a team that had Jacoby Lane on it? Like I see Lemon and Lane a lot like I think about Jerry Rice and John Taylor. John Taylor would have been the starting wide receiver for literally any other team. And I want to come out of this draft like 94, 102 with Jacoby Lane and Jake Slaughter, and I would be delighted. You ready for your number three guy?
I'm kind of on the fence because I
You
have
can
a
give another one
feeling.
if you want.
No, it's okay. I think I'm good. So this is going to be a tough one because I don't want to leave the draft with him. Um, but I'm not sure that I'll have the shot to take him, and that's Caden McDonald. Um, I think Caden McDonald is a 10-year dominant run stuffing guy in the league. And in the NFL, you have to stop the run in order to be able to rush the passer. And so I absolutely love Caden McDonald. And I'm even considering, um, let's say, if I take Sonny Styles at pick 4 in the shadow draft, um, and I get to pick 10, and a lot of the other players that I value at that like positionally at that level are gone. I might take him even though he's not the highest on my board because I know he won't be there later. And so that's where and that's what I want, and that's what we're looking for those first 6 picks is we're looking for long-term starters, right?
Yep.
And so I know there is a chance that he could be there in the low 30s, which is where my next pick is. And I don't know if you would take him or not. It depends on who else is there for you, probably.
A lot would have to go bad for me. Like, and again, I like McDonald, but like if Pregnon's on the board, McDonald's safe.
Yeah. So I personally think he's going somewhere in the 20s. And so I have a feeling that I'm not going to get the chance to take him just because I think there's a real world where I get Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs. I really do think there is. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Yep. I'm gonna keep going with my late round love. Uh I the next guy I'm gonna talk about, I had him as defensive tackle 2, and then I was a little cool on him, and then I was like, nah, he's like good. And then his athleticism showed out. I officially like there's a world I don't get him, but I will be furious if I don't get out of this draft with Wayshawn Benny.
Okay.
I think that I can come out of this draft with my offensive line figured out, and you know how hard I've been working on that. I think my offensive line problems are solved at the end of this draft. I get Jacoby Lane at least. I get a linebacker, and I get 3 interior defenders who I love. And number one of them is Benny. He was a 10-10 guy last year. His career metrics lined up. The athleticism's there. He underperformed, but like when you're getting rolled on, it's a tough ask. But I genuinely, I don't know where I have him ranked right now on my top 10 position rankings, but I'm officially in love, and I'm like, I'm not letting him pass 133. I'm not.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, hey, that's our top 100. Could our top 100s change? Sure. I don't think mine's going to change much anymore. I'm pretty settled in. Um, and we're not going to hit the rest of our big boards probably until April 21st, which is the week of the draft. On that day, we will likely talk about our final big boards. Maybe point out the biggest differences between consensus and us, and then also probably do our final predictions for the first round. But the next 2 weeks we got wide receiver, which will be fun. Wide receiver, it's kind of a deep class, especially if you're looking for a slot wide receiver. And then quarterbacks after that. Quarterback, we're probably gonna do some mock drafts afterwards because quarterback's not gonna take too long to get through, I don't think. But yeah, and then after that the draft happens, and we'll do a full recap of the draft after the week after the draft, and then we're gonna take a nice little break. But it's coming down the stretch here. But as like always, like and subscribe, and hit the follow button. Matt, you got anything for him before we call it a night?
Oh man, guys, stay tuned in. Wide receivers is going to be a show. Don't miss it.
Yeah, and we'll make sure to post those top 100s on social media as well. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.